Welcome to the November 4th/5th edition of the PFF Forecast, our election edition. Not really. We're not going to talk politics here. This is a football podcast.
It is.
We have a great one. We're going to do the whole Week 9 preview, lock of the week, and then we've got Tampa Bay Trey from the Draft Network joining us. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk Bucs, Saints, and he has some strong food takes. So I'm very excited about that. He does. So let's rock.
Is Trey Florida man? Like this is the headline Florida man has food takes?
No, it's funny because you would expect that out of someone first off named Tampa Bay Trey, who is a Bucs fan. Like I would expect cornrows and at least one tooth missing out of the top or bottom four. But he's very opposite. I think he's like the antithesis of what you would expect from Florida man. It'd be interesting. It'd be fun. Yeah,
he's more like it sounds like more California than Florida, but.
It's always a plus.
Yeah, it's true.
How are you doing? You're wearing a NASA t-shirt right now.
Yeah, because we're going to the moon. But I'm drinking Starbucks. Hey, by the way, if you want ad space, come get us Starbucks.
You're rocking a mocha today. You are it's very easy to tell when you are celebrating something because your go-to celebration is a mocha always.
It's living the best life for me.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Although I refuse to mush what's been going on.
We're not mushing anything.
You are the anti-mush, which I think is a good stance to have. We did win a bet last week, lock of the week.
I did.
So we're off the schneid a little bit there.
We made some headway there, and a couple of bets that we talked about, I thought were pretty sound. The over in the Denver-Los Angeles game was one that we talked about. Indianapolis was one that we talked about. Really, the one that I thought was the most interesting was we were on Green Bay, you and I intuitively at the beginning of the week, and then Minnesota was what our model liked, and we were like disgusted by it, and that turned out, which I think is a good starting off point for this week. Who knows if this game is actually going to be played because the Niners just had to close their facility, but let's kind of assume it is. San Francisco hosting Green Bay on a short week, Thursday night. This is obviously a game that the Niners, with Jimmy G and George Kittle, dominated last year twice. They are now 5.5-point underdogs because there's no Jimmy G, there's no George Kittle. I guess there's a chance that Debo's back this week. At least that's what Richard Sherman said yesterday on Chris Collinsworth's podcast, which you should go check out, by the way. It was pretty interesting. So that would be a huge plus. Are you tempted? A little Shanny magic. Thursday night, short week. It's LaFleur.
Well, my only concern here is that it's not available.
Okay, well, let's just say it was.
Okay.
Let's say it comes back online, and it's probably 5.5. Has it moved off 5.5? I don't think it has.
The whole week, I made a joke about this. Our friend Tim Murray had me on yesterday, and I joked about how, the Packers literally have you at running back, and the number's only gone in their direction. It sort of shows that what the market prices running backs at. Actually, I see it at 6.
Okay, I like that even more.
Look, it's San Francisco or nothing for me. Although you're seeing a decent amount of cash on Green Bay.
So tell me the reasoning there, because the only thing that I look at this Green Bay team,
narrative driven.
It's narrative driven, but there's one thing that's changed for Green Bay. One, Aaron Rodgers is playing significantly better. Now, if there was one thing that you would look at and you'd go, "Oh wow, that changes my opinion of things," like that's it, right?
Yeah.
But the Niners dump trucked the Green Bay Packers because their defense was unsound. And simultaneously, the Niners defense wrecked the Green Bay Packers. And Aaron Rodgers was
both
not getting
outcomes last year.
Yeah. So, both of those seem to be changing, right?
Can I ask something, though? Here's my thought process, though. So you look at Rodgers' season, it's crazy. Minnesota, Detroit, New Orleans, Atlanta. Find a good defense among those groups.
You can't.
Okay. They lose to Tampa, 45% completions, 2 interceptions, 4.5 yards per pass attempt. They go to Houston, crushes again. Last week against Minnesota, their offense was fine, right? Like that wasn't really the reason they lost. They didn't make big high leverage plays, and there was wind, but so Rodgers has played exactly how many good defenses? 1, and he performed like garbage against them.
It wasn't a great game, no.
the Niners, for all their faults, and again, we have to see sort of like what the downscale effects of COVID are. But if they're able to, if they have Verrett, if they have Mosley, Kinlaw's been great from what I can tell. Armstead's fine. Warner, although Warner had COVID, is that going to be an issue?
It's a great question.
So, but look, they are not a trolley ride away from being a bad defense, right? They're closer to actually being an elite defense, which, like, all the narratives about Rodgers off a loss or Rodgers bad game, I think are bunk, right? So then you go to the other side of the ball, and this is really where the question is. 2 weeks ago, we talked about the Niners against New England.
Did Fred Warner have COVID?
I think he was the one put on the COVID list.
No, it's Kendrick Bourne.
Okay, well, then it strengthens my argument. And Shanahan absolutely pulled Bill Belichick's pants down in that game. Yeah.
Fred Warner was on it in September.
Gotcha. Okay. So the real question is, how does the Niners offense perform against the Green Bay defense? And
Nick Mullins, 5th highest graded passer.
No Kittle, which is a thing. Jordan Reed might play, which I think is important. If Debo plays, Ayuk plays. The running back really doesn't matter. But JaMychal Hasty has some juice, I guess. Like, I can't see why this is 6. It's also, here's another point. I think LaFleur is a good coach, but he's nowhere near as good as Shanahan. And on short weeks, I'm going to take the coaching differential and probably double it.
Yeah, and here's the thing. You look at the Green Bay Packers. They have some singular players that are really great. Rodgers, Jerry Alexander is the highest graded corner. What Shanahan does is mitigate those things by attacking your weak points. So I'm with you there. Okay, take me to the next game that you would like to talk about.
Okay, so that one's, I would assume we can't because it's not bettable. Okay, here's one that if I look here at Buffalo weather, I was on Buffalo radio the other day, and
congrats.
Let me tell you, I'm a big hit in Buffalo now that I'm willing to tell the truth about Josh Allen. Yeah. Weather here 62, 5-mile-per-hour winds. So not
a lot of weather going on.
Not a lot of weather going on, which is humongous. Seattle's 2.5-point favorites. Laying this price on the road with a bad defense worries me a little bit.
Jamal Adams back in limited capacity.
Jamal Adams might be back. Their corners are the best part of that defense. Seattle is a physical team in the run game. The Bills are not. So they might be able to control the game a little bit more. Like, our model likes Seattle here. Talk me off of Seattle.
I can't. And this is...
Anytime you can fade Josh Allen, you're just going to do it?
Well, it's not even a fade of Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen is having a really good season. And if he had played at this level, like he's, in that 10-12 range, if he had played this way the whole way through, we'd still be talking about what a great improvement he's made. So he has made an improvement. Seattle getting less or having to cover by less than a field goal in a game against the Buffalo Bills team that it's weird. Their defense has regressed. That's not surprising. And I don't have that much faith in their offense. To me, this is an excellent opportunity. However, I have another road favorite.
Ooh. I know which one it is.
Yeah, that is a 2.5-point favorite that I actually think
Did we put this in our article at the beginning of the week?
I believe so, except I am usually delusional when I...
We put it at -3 at the time. It's now minus 2.5.
This is the Baltimore Ravens against the Indianapolis Colts. So here's what I will say. The Indianapolis Colts, I think, are a good team.
Yeah.
But they are being priced as a somewhat borderline-ish elite team, and I don't get that at all. I also would like to point out that the Ravens significantly out-efficiencyed the Pittsburgh Steelers from an offensive perspective. And the turnover battle, which is something that is fluky, was won by the Steelers significantly, and that is why they won in a close game. The Indianapolis Colts pose such a different, set of hurdles for Lamar Jackson to overcome. Their defense is so different. And on the flip side, the idea that Phillip Rivers is playing well is fine as long as you account for the fact that the Indianapolis Colts have played by far, the easiest schedule in the NFL. Their average opponent is a full point, more than a full point worse than the second easiest average schedule that anyone has faced. So I want to fade that narrative. I think the Baltimore Ravens, despite the fact that I think we pegged them accurately as not being as good as the market wanted them to be at the beginning of the year, are still undervalued, and I like them -2.5 in Indy.
Yeah. Okay. Here's my pushback. Marlon Humphrey out.
Humphrey. Yep.
And then all of the COVID, the close encounters as well. What say you on that?
I am less worried about losing Marlon Humphrey given the depth they have in the secondary, and given the fact that that Phillip Rivers is not someone that scares me in terms of taking advantage of that missing component. The way that the Indianapolis Colts are, I think, going to win this game, if they do, is by getting some turnover variance.
Yeah. Okay. I don't hate that. Let's look at another one here.
I also like over 47 in that game.
Yes. I think because there will be turnovers in some capacity. There's high variance associated with Lamar.
There's a Phillip Rivers pick six coming. Yeah. I don't know who it's going to be too. I'm just letting you know. Right?
Yeah. It could be like just some random that we've never heard of. Anthony Averett will get a pick six for the Ravens. Okay.
Ooh, the more I look at the board, I have some notes written down here, and I had a lot. Really I'm excited. Let's keep it going.
Okay, because I'm a little bit different. Here's one that I like, and it's my misanthropic nature coming into play.
Oh, good.
We're not going to get that many times left, I don't think, to get our hearts broken by the rocket scientist that is Matt Patricia.
I knew this was where we were going.
And
you were in a NASA shirt. I should have seen this coming.
Well,
where's your pencil?
Oh, hold on.
Can you imagine the year 2020 having a pet? Look at this. Now I think you're smart.
Okay, so
Now I think you know what you're doing from a scheme perspective.
Right. I'm not going to rush the passer.
Take it off for a second. Take it out. You're an idiot.
Rushing the passer, George.
Genius.
Rushing the passer is for the rubes. All right. So no Kenny Golladay might be rough here, and I think that he's out, right? Doubtful. Big V, questionable. Trey Flowers on IR. But look at this. This is classic Minnesota Vikings football. The Lions actually stopped the run really well. The Vikings want to run the football. I don't think you can. The total on this game 52.5. You couldn't find me on the over in ever. The Vikings played magnificently on offense Sunday and wouldn't go over this total against Rodgers, who had 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. This is going to be a muck it up game where the Vikings, much like in 08,
classic NFC North battle.
Right, NFC Central, black and blue division. The Vikings in 08 almost lost to the Owens, who will eventually be 0-16 Lions twice. I think that this will be a similar game where the Vikings might come out and win.
Okay.
But they're not covering 4.
Counterpoint. The Detroit Lions.
Okay. Who's going to rush the passer for the Vikings?
DJ
Wanham?
Suck.
Yeah, both of these teams suck, which is why I'll take the points with the team that's perceived to suck way more. So I will say this,
Matt Stafford looked like a different person with Kenny Golladay than he did without.
But he had like a 70-yarder to Marvin Hall.
I'm not necessarily saying in the last game.
Oh,
where they got racked by the Colts.
Yeah.
But in the first 2 weeks. I'll keep that there. I'll just say Patricia.
Rocket scientist.
Yes. Undeniable. Okay. I take you now to Nashville, Tennessee, where the Chicago Bears are rumbling in. What a game this is. What a beautiful matchup. Nick Foles is bad. Matt Nagy, not great. The Chicago Bears defense.
Did you watch that Saints game?
Yes.
If I have to watch David Montgomery take a handoff out of the shotgun with absolutely no holes in front of him.
One more time. In fairness, I think David Montgomery would say the same thing.
Yeah, he actually graded well for us because he broke so many tackles. But there's so many tackles for him to break.
Someone like that is Barry Sanders reincarnate would do that. Okay.
Here's a question: Is David Montgomery the Derek Jeter of running backs, where like he runs into tacklers so that he can break them?
No, we don't. He does not get Jeter status. Okay, but I'm not interested in the spread here. It's 5.5 Tennessee, and I'm not taking Tennessee here. I'm not taking Chicago, but total 46.5. Tennessee's defense is a unmitigated disaster. We've been challenged to come up with more words to describe things that are not great. So I'll throw a couple out here: heinous, putrid. Those are the two that I will put out. And 46.5 is low total. The Tennessee Titans have an explosive offense, and the Chicago Bears have a YOLO offense. A YOLO offense.
Yeah, so you could see Tennessee playing terrible defense, but getting a pick six at some point in this game.
Yep.
I was.
That's a low total for 20.
It's a disgrace.
Yeah.
The only reason that this is what it is because the Bears are inefficient on offense. But
Fair.
like the Bengals are not efficient on offense, and they did miraculous things with an offensive line that had. I mean, dude, like we were an injury away from seeing Steve start on the offensive line for the Bengals last week.
Been kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep it rolling.
I like that one.
So do
I. Okay, let me find. We liked the Giants last week at plus 3.5. Now it's plus 3. Not a ton of value there left anymore. We like the Chiefs over 51. It's on 52.5. Not a ton of value there anymore.
How do you feel about the Panthers getting 10.5?
No. It's so hard to beat the Chiefs.
I'm not saying they need to beat the Chiefs. They just
but even against the spread.
Keep it within 10.
I'm okay on that. Here's one I do like, though.
Are you looking, sir, potentially, to make a wager? You and I. Perhaps a tray of mochas from your favorite establishment.
I'll lay the 10.5 with Kansas City against you.
All right. What am I? Am I 4-0?
I think you're 3-0.
We may need to check the tape.
Yeah, check the tape.
I might need a recount. I might need the bets.
Look,
to be
these
recounted.
games keep getting played, and I keep racking up victories.
You have been trying to stop counting our bets.
That's true. It's heinous, is what it is. It's a disgrace, is what I may or may not have been a bourbon in when I said that, quote, Kirk Cousins is a disgrace compared to Teddy Bridgewater, which I might want to have back.
I don't know that that's a take that you need a bourbon for.
Yeah, well, I would say as a human, as a leader of men.
Okay, so Eric and I now have another steak dinner / mocha.
Look, at least I like the team I'm betting on now.
That's good. That's a start. That's a move in the right direction. Hopefully you can get off the schneid here. Okay, let me. There's one more over that I'd like to consider.
No.
As
somebody who sweated through that Dolphins-Rams game, I have to see a little bit more out of Tua.
Okay. Absolutely. And what you'll see out of Tua is probably more fumbling.
Yeah.
Are you worried that the Cardinals' offense is so bad that this is just going to be... Because that would be my worry. I'm not worried about the Dolphins. I think...
Plus, the Dolphins have coverage for days.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. It's 48. I like the other over better. This is, by the way, Miami in Arizona. Arizona favored by 5. Total at 48.
Yeah. Seems a little high, but Tua played like garbage last week.
I mean, he didn't really play. Okay.
Yeah, but he didn't look comfortable either.
All right, keep me going. Keep me going here. Feed me.
Explain to me why the Saints, with Michael Thomas presumably back, are 5-point underdogs in Tampa. Like the Tampa public love has gotten a little out of control.
I'm really excited to ask our friend
Tampa Bay
Trey about this because 5 is a lot. So what? So New Orleans was favored by 3.5.
Week 1, it opened higher, but it closed at 3.5.
Closed at 3.5. Okay, with no fans in New Orleans. Now I understand there's some uncertainty there for Tampa Bay. Sure. Here's the dirty little secret. Drew Brees, despite the fact that he will not throw the ball downfield, is playing well. And that's something that I don't think we should underestimate. My worry, though, is that Alvin Kamara is their offense, And if there was a team with athletic linebackers that could kind of stifle him a little bit, it is the Bucs.
Yeah, they, I think, match up really well.
They're like a really good matchup. This is crazy. Drew Brees has 11 throws that have traveled 20-plus yards down the football field. 11. Tom Brady has 43.
Yeah.
Tom Brady has more completions 20-plus yards downfield than Drew Brees has attempts. So I think 5 is a big number with these two teams. So if you look at these two teams, we have the Bucs as our third. This is something that you can find on PFF.com with an elite subscription. I think it's really indicative here. I'm using it to justify wagering many units on Clemson this weekend.
Our power rankings like Tampa Bay as being about 2 points better than New Orleans.
On a neutral field.
A neutral field. So home field advantage, probably not the full 3, and hence
not even close.
Why the +5 might
But
offer
let me ask you this.
some value.
Is from a matchup standpoint, can you find enough matchup inefficiency here?
Not to bet New Orleans. It's tough.
Because I like on the macro level, yes. And then then you add in Antonio Brown. I think he's going to be good right from the start. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think you get some regression out of New Orleans defense, though. They won't commit as many penalties. They won't give up as many big plays. There's actually talent there, and they haven't lived up to it in any way, shape, or form. There's a better chance, in my
What's
estimation.
the weather going to be here? I'll look it up while you talk.
Here's a question. What's more likely to happen? Tampa Bay finishes the year with the league's best defense, or Tampa Bay and New Orleans finish the year with similarly trending defenses?
Similarly.
That's my pushback against the idea that Tampa's defense is the bettable unit.
Okay, are you ready for this? Sunday. Let's see here. Okay, well, it's going to cool down a little bit here. So there's going to be precipitation throughout the day. Heading into 8 p.m. when the game kicks, it's on Sunday night, about 40% chance of precipitation. Winds about 15 miles an hour. That's interesting. And here's why that's interesting. Bruce Arians, for some reason, find someone. Now you're married. You found this person. But for all of you single men and maybe 2 women out there listening, find someone that loves you as much as Bruce Arians loves running the ball on 1st and 2nd and 10.
It's tough.
I can't.
I don't even think Bruce Arians' wife has found somebody who loves her as much as
Bruce loves that. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing about it is it's not like he's got Blaine Gabbert out there who every time he throws a pass, you pray. Tom Brady is slinging seeds. The dude is just on the money. And yet, we got to get
Ronald Jones and Fat Lenny
Fat
the ball.
Len and Rojo some run here. We got to get him oiled up. Yeah. I mean, God damn. So if it's a little bit of a weather game, I could see Bruce leaning into that. And it's like you have all these offensive weapons, but they run the ball. I don't know. 5 is too many, but I don't like it from a matchup standpoint.
Yeah. Does under appeal to you?
I hate unders.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's.
You want me to tell the people that our favorite bet of the week is under?
No,
okay.
Probably not. Okay. All right. Last but not least, I feel like Pittsburgh -14 and Dallas.
This has to be it, right?
I'm not taking it as the lock of the week.
No?
If you can give me 13.5, which I do think is available some places, maybe. But
how do the Dallas Cowboys score?
Yeah, I mean the Nooch.
The Nooch isn't even playing. He got benched. They were rewatching the tape. They got to the point where he rolls out right and throws the sidearm.
Yeah, and
McCarthy rumbled down, took the projector, just tossed the projector out of the room and left.
You can't get much better than 1.9 big time throw rate and 11.5 turnover worthy play rate. He's brutal. But
what was that?
But there's always like letdown spots here. Like they almost covered against Philly, although Philly's garbage.
That's something
Philly's not
I
good.
expect out of you in like 20-degree weather playing flag football when you've got the sweatpants from like Ross, Dress for Less or whatever, and you're just out there, 3 different sweatshirts on, making moves outside of the pocket. That's what I expect. A little side armor that goes into the dirt.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be that could be it. I mean, it's kind of a square play, road favorite by more than
it is. It is
2
very square
touchdowns.
play.
But here's my vote is for Tennessee over. Like Tennessee's defense is legitimately, brutal. The Bears' defense is fine, but Tennessee's offense is good. Coming off a bad week, I feel like there's a lot of trends that people are like overreacting to here.
Do you like, so that's 46.5. Do you like that more than Indy and
I do.
Baltimore over 47?
I do.
Really? Now, why is that? Because Indy, say what you will, Indy's offense is better than Chicago. And it's not like Baltimore's offense is bad.
Yeah, but like both teams like to run on early downs. I guess both teams like to run on early downs in Tennessee too. Games being played indoors. Let's look at tennis. Let's look at Nashville weather.
Cloudy with a chance of Nashville hot.
Ooh,
A little Clay Travis action.
7 mile per hour winds. 75. I mean, I just think like they found something out of Nick, right? Last week.
A little bit. He was spunky.
It's kind of a must win for both teams. Throw the kitchen sink at it. If the Bears fall to 5-4, they're kind of out of it in the NFC North.
Okay. Let me say this though. Is it more likely that Tennessee and Chicago get in a like 3 yards in a pile of dirt fest compared to Colts Ravens? Like, wouldn't you expect Colts Ravens? Like, there are ways that this game plays out is it's kind of like back and forth and each team finds a groove, or the Ravens are just, the Ravens, when they win big, like they go all out. You know? But also they're missing some defensive pieces.
Yeah, the missing defensive pieces might be the reason why I like that one. The problem is T.Y. Hilton's hurt, right? Is he coming back? Like there's missing piece on both sides, right? So, and Stanley's hurt, offensive line, Houston and Buckner are 2 very, very good players. Hilton's questionable with a groin. You never want to be questionable with a groin.
All right, let's go Chicago, Tennessee over.
Let's go.
46.5. Let's get it. That is the lock of the week. Nick Foles, Ryan Tannehill, the log, Mike Vrabel running stairs before the game, getting lathered up, just like we will.
Arthur Smith trying to get off the schneid.
We'll be lathered up over 46.5. Bears, Titans. Let's get it.
27-20. Let's go.
All right. There it is. By the way, we'll be back Saturday night, so check us out Sunday morning on the Daily Betting Podcast.
We've called you you're the prop king. Ben wanted to be the prop whisperer, but I feel like I'm the prop whisperer because I'm the one that like kind of
you're the guy behind the magic.
Yeah, I'm the whisperer. So I felt like there was a joke to be made about like
you're like the Gandalf
authoritarian regimes and stuff like that for the props.
We can workshop that.
We got to workshop it.
The prop court is something that needs to exist, certainly. All right, that's all you needed to hear there. Let's get to Tampa Bay Trey. All righty, Tampa Bay Trey, Trevor Sikkema from the Draft Network is joining us. A Florida man, now lives in Charlotte, and actually has his shit together. So you'll fit right in. Welcome, buddy.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me on. I don't think I've ever been introduced as a Florida man before, and being from Florida, I guess it's technically true, but I don't really know how I feel about it, especially with what happened this week.
I'm all about second chances.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. No, I've moved to North Carolina.
Yeah.
I guess that this could be a turning of the page. Although I'm not going to change my Twitter handle until I could make sure that I'm verified the second I change it. So I guess I'm just going to keep Tampa Bay Trey.
I mean, what are you going to be, North Carolina man? I'm not sure. North Carolina Trey? That's not going to work.
That does not have as entertaining of a stigma to it.
No.
So I feel like that would be bad for business,
Charlotte is a huge step up, though. Their airport, which I'm flying through today on my way to Washington, D.C., because, of course, is a very nice airport. I like it quite a bit.
No, it really is. It's one of the few airports where everything is very open, and you can get to every food at every, certain part of the terminal if you want. You don't have to take, a tram or do anything like that. It's just very open.
I'm staring at George with some incredulity right now because I'm a huge North Carolina fan. I love Durham. I love Raleigh. I love Winston-Salem. I love Charlotte. And George has always talked it down to me a little bit.
Because Durham sucks. Please help.
I've never been to Durham.
Okay,
so
there's a reason.
I got nothing on it. I've never been.
Well, we're not going to drag you into this problem here.
All right.
It sounds like you just did. So
we are going to talk food at the end of this because you have some great food takes. And that's really, this is a football podcast, but I use it often as a facade to talk about food. And maybe we'll talk a little college. But we got to start with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're playing the Saints. They're a 5-point favorite. We just talked about how that feels like a lot, but that the matchups here are interesting and that everyone seems to favor the Bucs. So starting with this game, handicapping it yourself, what do you make of Bucs Saints?
Yeah, so I mean, this is a giant cliche, and I hate to start with a cliche, but it's a divisional game, and anytime that divisional games happen, really you throw a lot of stuff out of the window. Sometimes you just throw logic out the window because I remember over the last, let's just say 3 or 4 years, the Saints have clearly had the better roster than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at almost every single point, and yet the Bucs have been able to get one up on them sometimes. Sometimes it's been at home, sometimes it's been in New Orleans like it was in 2018. And so it is a weird game in that regard, but it does feel different because things have pretty much tipped in the scales for the Buccaneers in a lot of ways. Now, of course, you remember they opened up the season at the Saints, but I tried to tell people after that loss that there's a lot of new parts of this Buccaneers team. And if you thought that they were going to figure it out right out of the gate, especially with a shortened offseason and everything that happened with the COVID protocols, then you're kind of fooling yourself. And so I think this is more of a true test to maybe where both teams are, the Buccaneers and the Saints, because I mean, I thought the Saints were going to be a strong team again this year. I looked at their roster going in. I said, man, there's just not a lot of holes here. If you think that Breeze is going to be a step down, okay, but I feel like the rest of the roster can be there. They've gotten some nice wins, but also have not looked as dominant as we thought. And so with that being the case, I understand why the Bucs are favored in this one, and I do think that they have the stronger roster.
Yeah, you look at the Saints, I mean, they have – I think the Bucs have a better defense, especially looking towards the future with all the players they have in the secondary, the linebackers, obviously the pass rush is both a veteran group and really good. The Saints have talented players. Marcus Davenport, their back end, they have a ton of veterans who are good, but they've also just made a ton of mistakes. You're talking about penalties, their penalty yardage is worse than any team in the league. They just get burnt, they're undisciplined on the back end. If this ever turns around, they could get on par with Tampa, but Tampa to me, so far has just done such a better job of being disciplined on defense and then also just covering things better than the Saints have.
Because I was thinking about this game and I was like, okay, if the Saints win, the path to them winning to me is Alvin Kamara takes the entire Saints roster, bundles them up, straps them to his back, puts his grill in, and marches them, 10 yards after the catch at a time down the football field. With the Bucs, you look at it and you go, man, there's so many ways that they can beat you. And now they add Antonio Brown. And I think a lot of people want to be skeptical about how he gets worked in. Antonio Brown's crazy, but part of that craziness manifests itself in the fact that this dude is ready to rock up in pads anywhere, anytime, and run routes. And so I expect him to come in and be good. Do you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, going just back to what Eric was saying about them being aggressive and getting kind of against discipline and having a lot of penalties, I really think that caught the Bucs by surprise in week one. And Tom Brady, especially, just with how aggressive the Saints were willing to play that team, Brady just wasn't ready for it with these certain guys that he had. And so I do think that with time, it's a little bit of a different story here with that end. Even though I agree with you, it is still a talented defense. I think the Buccaneers are going to be a little bit ready for it. In terms of Antonio Brown, man, I've said this before. There's really absolutely nothing that has happened between now and when he was released by the Raiders that makes you think that he deserves this chance or that he deserves to even be trusted. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, if you just want to talk football about it, he is now on the team. And I don't really know how you cover this Bucs team now with everybody healthy on paper, because you have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, which were already a handful. Gronk is now kind of, I guess, getting his football legs back out from underneath him, and Brady has a little bit better chemistry than It was right out the gate. I know that they don't have O.J. Howard anymore, but they can say all they want that they love Scotty Miller, and I think that Scotty Miller has shown that he's not just a nobody on this team. But when you replace some of Scotty's reps with Antonio Brown's reps, who is not that far removed from having what was probably the greatest 4 or 5 year stretch of any wide receiver in NFL history. I mean, it's wild to think that they have this group, and so I'm totally with you, George. It's crazy, and I don't think it's a lie that Bruce Arians has been saying over the last week or so, where it's like, yeah, we got him in here and he was absolutely rocked up, put on the pads, looked like he's been playing the entire time. And so I think chemistry might be a little bit of a work in progress, but in terms of him being ready to contribute, I think that you're going to see it this Sunday.
Well, they're living. Brady and Antonio are living together. So the chemistry, look, if you're living with someone, the chemistry better be.
Is there something that can stop Tampa Bay's offense?
Giselle's jealousy?
Short. Yeah. There's big time vibes there that are kind of weird. Like, okay. Is there something that could stop Tampa Bay's offense more effectively than running the ball to Rojo on early downs? Because I look at this offense, I think Gronk has had 4 or more targets and 40 or more yards in 5 of the last 6 games. He's looked great. He looked terrible early on. Cameron Brate's a good number 2 tight end. And I think if you look at from receiver 1 to receiver 6, there's no better team in the NFL. Brady's playing pretty well. Offensive line's fine.
Pretty well, yeah.
Yeah, he's playing
insane.
Yeah, he's been great. Other than just playing a team like Kansas City, you could outscore them. Can there be anything that stops this offense short of running on early downs, being inefficient, getting in 3rd and long situations, and then having variance, affect your offense to a degree that it wouldn't if you didn't run the ball so much on early downs?
I appreciate Eric taking the narrative of basically every Bucs fan who's watched terrible teams over the last years and saying that Brady has just been pretty good, because I feel like that's just what everybody's doing at that point. But yeah, it's puzzling, and it felt like there have been a handful of games this year and even last year where I don't know if this is just like, hey, this is the game plan. This is what we're doing. We're sticking to it. This is what's happening. We're going to run the ball on this down, or we're going to run the ball in these situations. But, they exit the game against the Giants, and it felt like they ran the ball on first down every single time they had a first down, like every single drive that they started.
It didn't just feel like it.
Was not.
They did that.
I mean, that wasn't exactly the case. They did throw the ball 18 times on first down as opposed to 13. So it was closer to 50-50, but it truly felt that way. And I'll tell you the moment that made the biggest difference in that regard for me. Carlton Davis gets his interception. They then proceed to run the ball on first down and second down. And it's like, come on, man. You've got to be able to read the game. You've got to be able to know when you can take advantage, when you've got a defense on their heels, when you've got the guys a little bit pumped up on your side. You've got to be able to take a shot. And like you guys, we were just joking around and saying, Brady's playing at an incredible level right now. Why would you want to take the ball out of that guy's hands in opportunities where you can really cash in as an offense and put a team that you are absolutely better than away? And I feel like that's a big detriment right now to a pretty damn successful year that Byron Leftwich has had as the offensive coordinator, is that he's got to realize that the ball is best when it is in Brady's hands. And when it comes to putting teams away or really getting a giant lead out of certain situations, that's where the ball needs to be. Whether the game script is like, hey, we want to stay balanced, because can't tell you how many times I've heard that out of both Arians and Leftwich, Arians and Leftwich over the last 2 years. Is like, oh, we're going to stay balanced. We're going to stay balanced. Running pass has got to be even. You got to keep the defense guessing. And we know that that's not entirely true, that's necessary, but it just seems that that's what they want to be doing. And to Eric's point, man, they look like a well-oiled machine that not a lot of teams can stop, and maybe they're the only ones that can get in their way.
Yeah, and it's funny because people will look at that balance and they go, oh yeah, it's like 17-13 or whatever. And the reason I made that comment is because to me, if it's anywhere near 50-50, did your brain leak out of your ear? Because as you said, Tom Brady is playing at a top 3, PFF grade. I think he's 3rd. You make some arguments in certain places he's playing better than, maybe even Russell Wilson is. But Tampa Bay is 17th in pass play rate on first and second downs. Now that that's right there with like Miami. New Orleans is actually worse. Now they have Alvin Kamara, which is interesting. But Detroit, Arizona, Washington, Atlanta. It's like all those teams have quarterbacks that are far worse than Tom Brady. Why are you not letting TB12 cook? It is interesting.
Is that what we're doing now? We're just going like everybody cook. Like, are we just taking the Russ saying and we're just like, okay, this guy is now a culinary artist, so we're gonna.
I have only so much energy and frankly like fucks to give. I'm not gonna say.
You're also not much of a cook yourself.
Yeah. I'm not gonna use it on like let Nick Foles cook. Like that's where I draw the line.
I think that is it, right?
We need to establish the the cook line. You know what I'm saying? Like, can that, like, after this quarterback, we can no longer allow this person to cook.
Okay, let's
that
establish.
Person's not allowed in the kitchen. There's too many cooks in the kitchen.
Let's establish that line right now. Where are you drawing the line in terms of quarterbacks that are not allowed?
I think the alliteration would tell you that you have to let Cam cook.
Newton?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's it, though.
I think he's earned his apron, if you will. You know what I'm saying?
His chef's hat?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Can you imagine what his chef hat would look like?
Is there a fancy name for a chef hat, or is it just a chef hat? I actually don't know.
There has to be, because the French, because they own cooking, they have to have a fancy name for everything. I'm surprised that Cam hasn't actually worn a chef hat.
Same.
To a game yet.
That's true.
If I'm looking at it, I mean,
going back to the line, are we just going to go to the default Derek Carr? Because I feel like Derek Carr is just like constantly the line. Like, he's the line for quarterbacks, like bridging between good and replaceable. I feel like we could just fall on the Derek Carr line.
Yeah, I like that, because I was thinking Derek Carr actually gets to cook. Because if you don't let him throw on first and second down, you are really screwed.
Yep.
Because third down's a disaster.
Yeah.
And the guy that I would say maybe I don't want in the kitchen with the herbs and the spices is like a Jimmy G or a Jared Goff.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I kind of want them setting the table.
Yeah, 100%.
Jimmy G's like somebody.
Jimmy, would you get the silverware and the napkins and set the table, please, buddy?
You guys are better at food than me. What's a food that is like better raw than it is cooked?
Fish.
So like Jimmy G would like cook the sushi.
Oh, come on.
Right? Like, look, man, we just need you to get this thing on the plate. And he's like, actually, I'm going to throw this thing in the oven.
Let me get the barbecue fired up here. What are we going to do with this tuna?
Jared Goff, like,
he mispronounced tartare, certainly. He doesn't know what sashimi is. Yeah.
No.
Jared Goff certainly does not.
Yeah.
Doesn't know where the sun rises. So I think
Jared Goff like lit the house on fire while cooking the sushi.
He was trying to go like hibachi style with the flames coming up, and just it all went wrong. It obviously went wrong.
I'm just gonna put a quick sear on this. 2 minutes later, house on fire. That's the Jared Goff in the kitchen experience, and that's maybe the perfect one, because even Sean McVay won't let him like run a play call or call a play.
Look,
so,
their willingness to try to come back from 28-10 throwing speed outs to Cooper Kupp on the regular is just they have no downfield passing game. When's the last time Goff stepped into a throw and
delivered
gave it like 28 yards ADOT? It just doesn't happen.
Trevor, I want to ask you now, big picture. If you are making a halfway through the season prediction for, let's say, the Final Four and then the Super Bowl, what is it right now?
I would say I would go Chiefs, Steelers on the AFC side, and then I would go Seahawks, Buccaneers on the NFC side. That's what I would say would be the Final Four.
All right, and then Super Bowl?
Oh, man, you're going to make me say it. You're going to make me say it. Okay, Steelers, Tampa. Good Lord. Why? God, wow. Good Lord.
Are you overthinking this, Trey? Like, I respect the Tampa Bay. I respect the Tampa Bay pick. I really do. They're the favorites. Can somebody explain to me why Kansas City and Pittsburgh are considered in the same tier, other than maybe Pittsburgh has an inside track at the 1 seed?
Yeah, Trey, what's your thinking there?
I am just so blown away by how well the Steelers have been able to play defense for as long as they have, which may perhaps fools me into thinking that it is sustainable to where, hey, look, I think they'll maybe take a step back here in the second half of the season. They won't be as dominant, but perhaps we've seen this so many times before. Postseason runs all about the teams that are hot, and so you certainly have to have the talent. But if you've got a lot of momentum and confidence with you, perhaps the Steelers defense could again kind of step up and reach this level when they're playing in the postseason. If that's the case, I've got faith that they beat the Ravens. And then when it comes to the Chiefs, we've seen that pressure doesn't affect Patrick Mahomes nearly as much as it does other quarterbacks. And so I don't want to just say like, oh, if they get to Patrick Mahomes, because I do think that he's a different breed, but I do feel like there is a chance that this defense, because top to bottom, they are so great, can really come together and slow them down enough to make the game interesting. And I'm just going to bet on the Steelers because I've gone back and forth with my co-host on my podcast, Ben Solak, and I've been like, hey, the Steelers, hey, the Steelers, hey, the Steelers. And he's just like, nah, I can't believe it. So maybe this is a little bit me sticking to my guns here.
And you're not completely wrong. I mean, when you look at the
I appreciate you not calling me completely wrong.
Sorry.
This is a really interesting conversation.
No,
because everyone,
everyone loves the Steelers.
Everyone loves the Steelers.
And our colleague Timo, who's also a Bucs fan, wrote an article about Pittsburgh and how they're a little fraudulent. Now, I don't think that they're fraudulent in like the Green Bay Packers last year fraudulent.
That's a special level.
Yeah, that's a special level of fraudulent. They're not Bears 5-1 fraudulent.
Yeah,
but
they can get out of nickel defense.
But my issue is, and I agree with you 100%, they have a great defense, but the matchup with Kansas City is one where the Ravens Steelers type of defense where you rush the passer with 4, 5, 6 guys and play man coverage on the back end is nowhere near as effective against Kansas City as more of that like Eberflus, cover the Salah, Los Angeles Chargers sort of like
blitzing Mahomes
rush
and hoping to cover with man-to-man coverage, you're dead.
And even like the Buffalo scheme on that Monday night was, I think, the right scheme. They just didn't have like a nose tackle that could hold the point of attack and make those 7-8 yard runs, 4 or 5 yard runs. It's hard because I think the aggressive defenses match up with them poorly. Or do you think on the other side of the ball, the receivers are clearly good, the offensive line's fine. Do you think Big Ben is capable of crossing the street that many times without being hit by a car on offense?
Right, and it's weird because in the Ravens game, right, he said after the game, at some points in the game we were just getting in the huddle and I was just playing backyard football. Like I was telling him like, all right, you run this route, like we weren't even calling plays. And I can understand if you are an undefeated Steelers team playing, let's say, the New York Jets, and just in the second half, you're beating them by a bunch, and you're like, hey, let's just freelance it here. Who cares? We don't even need the real play. But they did this stuff against the Baltimore Ravens, which was crazy to me when I heard that quote, because it just feels like, the Steelers there's not a lot of pressure on them right now. And I guess I'm going to reserve the right to answer this question later, because with them being undefeated and with them being in as much of a groove as they are, we've got to see what it looks like when it's not exactly so easy for them. And I think that things are coming very easily for the Steelers right now on offense, where this might not be exactly what happens down the road, or it might not be sustainable. But perhaps, again, this is something that with an experienced playoff quarterback and somebody who kind of has been in that situation of where they want to go before, maybe it's not like, oh, they get out of their groove and they can't get back into it. And so I'm with you on the matchup with the defense. It is tough to see anybody matching up against the Kansas City Chiefs, especially as aggressive as what the Steelers have been. But because they've been so good at it, maybe I am swaying a little bit towards, hey, I'll give them a chance.
Yeah, and obviously Tomlin, I think last year, he was on the verge of being fired, and then he had that team. He won 8 out of the 10 games in the middle of the season. He was excellent.
Wild.
He's been excellent. He's an excellent leader of men that I think is underrated. So the coaching there is not as big of an advantage. Andy Reid versus most coaches is a great advantage, but against Tomlin, it's less so. Steelers, to your point, they have faced somewhat of an easy road so far, but it doesn't get that much difficult. They're the 5th easiest schedule by our metrics left this year.
Their toughest opponent going forward is the Ravens.
It could be a situation much like Baltimore last year where they go 14-2, they get the 1 seed, and we're asking ourselves in round 2, like, how the hell did they get beaten by X team? Well, it's because we don't have a ton of data on them facing really good teams, a la Baltimore last year.
Ryan Tannehill gets hot. Here's what I think sticks out to me, because I agree with you on the top 4. The top 4 is 3 teams that have the 3 best quarterbacks in the NFL: Wilson, Mahomes, and Brady right now.
Right.
And then 1 team that has a guy that I would say is outside of the top 10, borderline-ish top 10 guy in Big Ben. And
is he still in the kitchen?
Big Ben is what Big Ben is doing. Big
Ben's on the grill out on the deck.
Big Ben has 3 dishes that he makes. They all have hamburger meat in them. It's like hamburgers, meatloaf, and cheeseburger pizza.
So Big Ben's wearing a tucked in off gray shirt with jorts and New Balances, sitting out on the grill with sunglasses on.
He's the guy that comes in and everybody's some of the people have eaten, but then he's the one that comes in with this big ass palette of like food where he's just like gone to town for 30 minutes grilling hamburgers and brats and
he's got a very what's the quote from Taken? It's like, I have a very special set of skills.
Yes, right. Sure, yeah.
That's what he has in the kitchen. Yeah. So we'll allow him to. He's not Patrick Mahomes is in there like inventing new shit you've never tasted, where you go like, holy fuck, what is this?
Yeah, sure.
That's what Mahomes is serving up. Big Ben's not quite there. And I think, to me, that's where, if I'm projecting things down the road and I go, what's most sustainable, especially in a year where shit can hit the fan, I would have that same top 4, and I would say the other 3 I feel more confident in because the quarterback, will stay there. But that was good. I'm glad you had a different take from us, because we've been bagging on the Steelers along with Ben Solak for a while. Let's get to some quick hitters here. You do some great work for the Draft Network, and your mock drafts are a lot of fun to read. People should go check those out. I don't often bet on college football. Eric literally, that's how he spends his Saturdays. I have placed a large wager on Clemson -5.5 against Notre Dame. Am I an idiot?
Well, no Trevor Lawrence, so I don't know if you're an idiot, but it's weird to have watched them play the way that they did against Boston College. And I think that was a perfect storm in a lot of different ways. Obviously, it was the first game without Trevor Lawrence. They were trying to get everything going. Boston College was clearly ready for it. And they also pulled out all the stops and still could not beat them. I also don't think Notre Dame is that good.
Thank you.
So I would tell you that I think Clemson's going to cover that. So I would say that you're safe. I'm not overwhelmed on it because of the situation of quarterback, but I would say that they're going to beat Notre Dame by that.
Can you say DJ's last name?
No, absolutely not.
Do you want to give it a try?
No, I can only say it if somebody says it right before me, and then I get to immediately repeat them and act like I knew all along. That's the only.
My goal for this week is to get Eric on camera saying the guy's name.
We might get there. If we need to stir up some college content, we'll have to.
My take is that DJ Uliungale, that was bad, man. I tried to rush through it. I didn't get through it. He's a 5-star recruit. I watched him play. He was awesome. He graded well. I think he's like the 3rd or 4th best quarterback in the country.
Right now, you put him as like, you take him 3rd or 4th?
See, here's my thing. I think all college quarterbacks suck except for like 2.
Sure, fair. That's very fair. Extremely fair.
And so my thing is like, because all these guys are young, so much of it is their environment they're in and just like how gifted they are. And this guy was as gifted as anyone else coming out. So
well, plus he had the game that he wasn't expected to play in, right? Like it was like a last minute kind of deal.
By the way, Ian Book not allowed in the kitchen or the cafeteria.
No, God, no. No.
He's only allowed in the Barnes and Noble cafe.
Listen, Ian Book is running the valet in the back, and like that's what he's doing.
And he doesn't even handle the nice cars. It's like in comes a Jag. It's like there's a Honda Accord that might turn in. You're waiting for that one.
Yeah, no, he's the assistant valet. He's the assistant.
All right, take us through your barbecue food take. As someone that has lived in Brooklyn, I've had the world's best barbecue many times.
Wait, what?
I crack up every time I see one of those because I swear to God, I did live in Brooklyn, and I swear to God, I have been to the overpriced barbecue place where it's like, this cost me $50, and you're looking at your plate and you're like, fuck, I have made a terrible mistake. Mistake. So anyways, take us through how to order barbecue.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I have something that started just out of kind of common sense for me that has now turned into a barbecue movement, which I really appreciate. And that is hashtag 3 sides minimum. And my thought process there, and this, people have expanded it to outside of barbecue, which you are fully allowed to do. I give you all the power to do that for food, whatever you want. But it mainly goes with barbecue because there's so many different kinds of barbecue places around the country. You know, you have like the Kansas City style, Texas, North Carolina, Georgia. Like there's so many different kinds of barbecue. And every place that you'll go to, even ones that might be similar to another, I think that there's a special side or a side that they do better at that place than anywhere else. And so when I say 3 sides minimum, it's often because I want to make sure you give yourself the opportunity to try what might be the quote unquote specialty of the house, because barbecue is beautiful. Barbecue is sent from God. It is the cuisine that I believe Jesus tried to request at the Last Supper, and they didn't know what he was talking about yet. So he wasn't able to get it. So they had to settle with something else. But I know that sometimes when you go to barbecue and they're like, hey, here's the deal. Combo platter, you get 1 meat, you get 2 sides, and you get a biscuit. Like that's just always what comes with it. A lot of times people will go, okay, my favorite 2 sides are mac and cheese and baked beans. So I'm just throwing something out for an example. So you will go, okay, well, I'm going to get brisket, and then I'm going to get my 2 favorite sides. You don't allow yourself to then, if you see, like if they do banana pudding really well, or if they do coleslaw really well, I know that's kind of sacrilegious to people, or if they do like collards really well, like if you see it in the back and you go, man, that looks so good, but it's not my favorite. It's there. The rule is there to give you freedom to experience what a barbecue place, which is often recipes handed down through generations, it gives you that chance to enjoy what these barbecue places do best. And so it's kind of a movement to allow you to free yourself, free your mind, be a little bit more open, and enjoy some good Southern food.
That was beautiful. And
George has never been impressed with anything I've said as much as he's been impressed with what you just said, Tampa Bay Trey.
That is, what you said is something that I live by, which is you never want to miss out on the opportunity to try your new favorite food.
Absolutely.
And barbecue, for many people, should be in their holy trinity of foods. The way I approach it is slightly more gluttonous, which is, when you go get barbecue, you go all out. You do not go, you know what? I'm actually not going to try that because I might be a little full afterwards. So I'm the guy that orders like 4 meats, all of the sides. I get dessert. It's a whole fucking deal. Give me your 3 favorite sides that you've ever had.
So people ask like, what are my go-to sides? And I would tell you that my go-tos are, I've had mac and cheese from barbecue places that have just been like 11s out of 10. You know, like I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what kind of magic they're putting in there.
Crack.
Mac and cheese is on there. Barbecue baked beans is also in there for me. There are a couple of places that do barbecue baked beans extremely well. And then the third one for me that I would order is collards, because I think that collard greens are, not everybody loves collard greens, but collard greens are very Southern to me. And I think that there are a lot of Southern cuisine places that do collards really, really well. I'm also not on the side that hates coleslaw, so every now and then I'll throw a little bit of coleslaw in there. I've seen, things that have dealt with sweet potatoes, potato fries. Good. Some places do that really well. Banana pudding. I will say this, though. People continue to ask me, and I'm glad that they do because I'm here to clarify. Does cornbread or a biscuit count as a side?
Ooh.
I would tell you that it does not, because it already comes with the meal. And I, again, don't want you to think that just because it comes with the meal, that would then prohibit you from ordering another side that you think might look really good. So that goes back to your rule, George. And it's, again, just all about empowering yourself to enjoy the best food that you can, because we're all not here long. Have as much barbecue as you want.
God, it's beautiful. I have yet to find a good barbecue place here in lovely Cincinnati. shockingly. But, you know.
I've only been to one, and it was like okay, I guess.
Yeah. We need to make some trips.
We need to get you boys down south because if you came to Charlotte, Eric, I know you said that you like North Carolina area. If you come to Charlotte, I've got 3 places right off the top of my head that we're making it happen.
Let's do it.
We're going to record our next podcast with Trevor Sikkema with barbecue present. It will be a feast. It'll be glorious, and we'll stream it live for you. Trevor, this was awesome, brother. I appreciate you hanging out. Draftnetwork.com, thedraftnetwork.com, right? I'm getting that right?
thedraftnetwork.com. Nailed it.
Your mock drafts, it's a great site with great people, and Trevor is one of them. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys having me on. Thanks.
Thanks for watching the PFF YouTube channel, and if you want to subscribe, all you have to do is push the button. Don't forget everything you get. A little fantasy, push the button. A little green line for the gambling aspects of the game, push the button. College football, push the button. The YouTube channel from PFF.